So Star Wars decided that they were going to drop their Acolyte trailer, and I gotta say I'm not very impressed. This wasn't a great trailer. If it was in a better era of Star Wars, if this was George Lucas directing and making all this stuff, then maybe I'd be slightly excited for it, but I know that it's Disney, and therefore, before I even watched the trailer, I figured that I'd be able to point out a couple of things that are just going to be absolutely abysmal, and yes, it happened. I watched the trailer, and there's some stuff I want to talk about. Let's go ahead and start the trailer, shall we?
Close your eyes. Your eyes can deceive you. We must not trust them.
Okay, first thing I want to point out is the low bar writing of close your eyes. Your eyes can deceive you. We must not trust them. You said three things that all said the same thing. In terms of dialogue, brevity is king. Okay? Brevity is king. Brevity and nuance is what makes dialogue interesting. To just go over three times the exact same thing and then put that into a trailer, not interesting. Close your eyes. You cannot trust them. They can deceive you. Yeah, okay, so they can deceive me. I can't trust them. Sure, great. What do you think the word deceive means? There's more nuance in the Bible that spells things out in clarity consistently when it says the heart is deceitful and wicked above all things. That's not even meant to be the Bible's meant to be more like a historical document rather than it is to be some sort of dramatization of the dialogue, and yet the actual description of the heart is more nuanced and vague in its description of what the heart is, yet still plain and simple compared to the dialogue from these multi-million-dollar writers in Hollywood. Let's go on. First thing, I want to say something else. Does anybody else get this feeling of, oh, they just really want to put this overly clean vibe to this story? Like every single one of these movies and TV shows that Disney has produced, everything's just a little too neat. Everything just looks a little bit too much like it's something else. There's no film grain. There's nothing, unique about the aesthetic of the characters. There's nothing really going on. It's all just like, yeah, let's put some robes on them. Let's put some generic weird clothes on them, and then just, will not put any effort into the actual creation of the characters' garbs or anything like that. Like, it just looks so copy and paste.
What comes into your mind?
Life. Balance. I see fire.
Okay, so life, balance, icy fire. So we can already tell who's going to be the interesting one in the group. It's going to be the last chick who said, I see fire. Oh yeah, now we're going to have a little weird fight scene between this random Jedi who's just going to be standing up straight the entire time as somebody tries to kill her, and she's not going to have any emotion while she fights back. Because that's what Jedi are known for, having zero emotion when they fight. Okay, so immediate issue that I have with this fight that they're portraying, if she can just force push her away, why doesn't she just, I don't know, continue to use the force and thrash her around like a rag doll, which you don't see in the rest of the trailer, and I'm assuming that's not going to happen in the rest of the fight because Disney is stupid and they want to have some stupid combat scene when the Jedi, without needing to pull out their lightsaber, could easily take down someone who doesn't have a weapon that can actually challenge them. This person's not even pulling out a blaster to shoot at the Jedi. You want to make this more interesting? Have the person pull out a blaster to shoot the Jedi. Shoot at the Jedi, get in close, and then start using some sort of dagger to fight against the Jedi as they use their blaster. There's so many things that you can do with this, and you can make this person an interesting bounty hunter, but to just have him pull out a knife and try to go hand-to-hand with a Jedi that's just going to thrash him around with the Force is completely pointless.
Someone is killing Jedi. It doesn't make sense. What happened? I sensed darkness.
I say again, like, really? These are still human beings. Jedis, and the ones that they're portraying at least, are still human beings. They're not going to be immune to the laws of physics and to continual force, right? The output of force. When someone gets hit with something, it causes them to react. For you to just show this random couple of characters getting kicked with the full body weight of somebody, or hit with the full body weight of somebody, and they just hold up their arm to stop it, it's not actually interesting. If they're using the Force, then great, but there's no indication of that in the trailer or the footage that we're seeing, so it's just utterly pointless. That's the premise of pretty much everything that Disney has put out, is, in an age of light, darkness rises. Blah, 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 blah. Like, come up with something more interesting, please! Please! Please, come up with something more interesting. It's just... this is pretty much just the prequels, but with a diverse cast. And the main bad guy's gonna be some boss girl female.
Good or bad. This is about power and who is allowed to use it.
Okay, so yet another horrendous line of dialogue from Hollywood. This isn't about power. This isn't about good or bad. This is about power and who's allowed to use it. I really hope the context of this conversation is more interesting, but I'm not going to hold my hopes out for this, because that is a line of dialogue that is exactly the political ideology of the people writing this. They don't believe in good and bad. They believe that whoever holds the power is evil, which is ironic because they hold all the power right now. They're the ones with all the access to the entertainment industry. They're the ones with all the access to the major mainstream media outlets that are pushing all this propaganda. It's completely, totally antithetical to their belief system, but people will buy into this hand over fist because of the fact that they don't understand what's going on. They've been brainwashed. When I was younger, I was getting brainwashed by this garbage as well. It's just stupid, right? It's not about good or bad. Then what is it about? What is it about, huh? If it's not about good or bad, and there's no such thing as good or bad, if you're really not fighting for what is right or good or true in your heart of hearts, then why are you fighting at all? Oh, it's because I want to have power? What a fruitless endeavor. Oh yeah, now I'm the most powerful. Guess what? I don't have anything to live for now. Oh, I'm going to try to keep my power? Why do I want to try to keep my power? So I'm selfish? Why? Why is this what's being proposed as the main conflict of the story? It's not heroism. It's not heroism versus villainy. The writers of Disney can't write something about heroism versus villainy. They have to go, it's about power constructs. Don't you understand? The white man's evil. That means that the white woman's evil too, because she's just a subset difference between man. Therefore, the only people that we can portray in this are going to be people who aren't white, straight males. Which, and I don't know if you've noticed that or not, but there's not a single white, straight male in this show or in the footage shown so far, except for maybe a kid. But I don't even think there was a white, straight kid in the beginning of the video. I just also want to say this again. The costume designs look absolutely horrendous in this, and the background of that last few shots was absolutely horrendous. I can't tell if that's just a really poorly recolored video, or if it was a really poorly rendered volume screen type of thing, right? Because the volume is still something being used heavily by these people, and the volume, sure, it's helpful for some things, but it's an awful tool. It really doesn't do much for the actual story, except for portray something's going on in the background, and it can be used effectively but it can't be used effectively if that's what you're filming everything in. If that's all you're doing is just filming it on the back like that, it's going to take away all of the connectivity between the characters and the backgrounds if that's what you're doing.
What is that?
Then you're going to have one major bad guy who's just going to be able to dog all the other Jedi. So we have all these Jedi that are going to be built up as like these really awesome really awesome baddies who are able to do so much and are going to fight awesomely. And then you're going to have just one random Sith character show up who's going to be some girl boss female protagonist of the story because they got to switch it up and make the Sith the good guys. What a surprising turn of events. And they're going to say, oh yeah, look at how much she can dog all these Jedi Masters who are just like holding up the patriarchy and stuff. Like, they're conforming to a capitalist system, and then we're going to have this person come along and they're going to be like, oh my gosh, we're going to take it on. That's the entire premise of every Disney Star Wars movie is the establishment, which actually isn't really the establishment, but the people that we hate, the straight white Christian males and the straight white Christian females and all the people who are traditional. Guess what? We're going to make a movie about how they're really the bad guys, and we're going to make all the bad guys really good guys. You know what I'm saying? That's pretty much everything that Star Wars has done since they've been bought by Disney. Since Disney bought it from George Lucas, which was a huge misstep, and I really hope that people are starting to realize that them thrashing George Lucas because of the prequels is why we got the sequels, and that's why we have nothing good coming out of Star Wars, just because people decided they were going to destroy the man who made Star Wars because they made a couple of movies that they didn't like as much as the originals, but still had a lot of value to them. But because they weren't because they weren't the original trilogy, because they were slightly less valid than the original trilogy, but still part of the story, you guys thrashed George Lucas into selling it into Disney, and now look what we have. And I've always liked the prequels. There was one point in time where the Attack of the Clones was my favorite Star Wars movie, and I had a really superficial reason for liking it. It was because it was the only movie where I got to see Anakin Skywalker being a good guy without turning to the dark side. While being a Jedi. Yeah. And then we have these things like Acolyte, which I have zero interest in watching because everything about it looks like it's going to be trash. The costume designs look bland and boring and trashy as all get out. And everything else in this story just looks like absolute garbage. I have 1,000 critiques regarding this trailer, and I don't have time to list them all, but I've listed at least a few of them before I start going into work. So, yeah, I want to know what your guys' thoughts are on this. So leave a comment down below. Share this video out there with your friends. Subscribe and hit that bell notification icon. I hope you guys have a great day and a great rest of the week.